Where do we begin? Where do we start? I am going through the craziest wake up call that I could go through. Um, I'm like in a place right now where I'm like, look, I don't mind my own company. I've never really mind my, like, I never had a problem with being by myself. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I think now that I'm aware of certain things and like certain patterns and certain traumas and things like that, I'm realizing that your childhood plays a huge, has a huge effect on your life as an adult, right? Crazy that I'm even admitting this to y'all. Y'all are the first to hear it, right? So, how I see it is like, and this is just me being completely honest with not only y'all but myself. So, I grew up in a household where my parents were married. My childhood to me was great, spoiled, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like I really didn't need for anything. It was more of a want at a certain point for me to like, just want certain things, but like I pretty much had what I needed as a kid. Straight A student, like I just, got older, probably a couple B's, C's, whatever, but like I had a good upbringing. But there were certain things during my upbringing that I guess really stamped in my life, and like I didn't realize it until now. Like, yeah, well, I'll say a couple years ago, but I'm just now like getting the gist of everything. And like, so, parents married, but my mom has always been the more stern and straightforward parent, period. If my mom said no, it was a no. There's like no getting around that. My dad, on the other hand, very careless and just not available like he should have been. So with him not being available and playing that role of like, what am I trying to say? Like with him not having the role of like demand or say so, I, of course, am seeing that because he's not really wanting to do that, my mom, had to take on the responsibility of being the more stern parent, because you can't just allow your kids to, go through certain situations and be careless, like spending the night at friend's house. That wasn't a thing for us. My mom just kept it a buck and was like, look, I understand you want to have your, friends and you want to go hang out and you want to, but we don't know like what boyfriends they got. We don't know what's going on in that household. We don't know, like, you just don't know. And I appreciate that, because even though I just wanted to be a kid, I did have friends who went through certain situations that I feel like my mother's stern ability to just be a mother help me avoid those situations, if that makes sense. But yeah, back to it, like my dad, just not very present. Like I feel like I was a daddy's girl at some point, but really young. Once I got to be like double digits, honey, like 10, 11, I just started to notice things were changing. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know, the vibe was different. And then as I got older, it got worse. My dad was very much so like, when you turn 18, you're getting out of the house. When I was 16, I did that. Like, you know, they love to go back and tell you these stories about shit. And it's like, my nigga, like, things were like 2 cents back then. You know what I'm saying? Of course. But as a kid, you're just not really able to say certain things that you notice or talk about certain conversations that you've overheard. My dad just didn't do his job to me, period, point blank. He just didn't do his job. And I'm not an emotional person, Kia. I really am, but the fact that I'm saying this on camera is like one thing. Yeah, he just wasn't available like I needed him to be, which did not set a high standard for any man that I potentially would date. So, you know, little girl, you got a couple little crushes, you know what I'm saying? Start getting into your phase of being like a teenager, dating. That's not really serious unless, you know, you're just really in love with this person. But I feel like my first boy, we're gonna go down the line, okay? I'm about to tell y'all. I'm just doing this because I gotta do this. This is a part of my healing process, okay? And could potentially help some of you. So my first real boyfriend was straight out of high school. Like when I graduated, he told me like, you know what, like gotta wait until you're 18. You know what I'm saying? Like I graduated, he was like my first real boyfriend, whatever. I'm 18, so he had to have been 23, 24. Had a child, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh fuck, I'm 18, like I ain't looking to be, you know what I'm saying? Every girl's like, I'm not looking to be a stepmom or any of that. But it really wasn't any of that, you know what I'm saying? Of course, it was like, you know, respect, all of these things. But first red flag was he was still living with his baby mother, right? So apparently they were just like roommates. He was like, I'm not gonna have her out on the street. Like, she has my son. Cool. You know what I'm saying? It was a time that I had went over there and she was like in the room getting the baby together. And he was like, she's leaving. I was like, why is she in a room? Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not dumb. But I'm like listening to a nigga tell me like, it's not what you think. Like, we're really just roommates. All of this. In my mind, I'm thinking, you guys did the most to bring a child into this world. There was attraction there. So why would that leave? I'm 18. My nigga, you're not about to play me. You know what I'm saying? Got to a point where I guess that was really the case, though. She just really felt like she couldn't go home. He wasn't going to have her out on the street whole time. Shorty lived around the corner and, like, could have went home at any time. You know what I'm saying? I was in that relationship 18, 19, 20, 21. I was in that relationship for like 2.5, 3 years. Girl, I was in that relationship for 2.5, 3 years, okay? And it was cool, you know what I'm saying? He introduced me to just a lot of things that I appreciate, as far as just like places to go, places to get away, things to see, things to do, like literally taking me out on dates and things like that. And, you know, I'm just young, wild, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm having so much fun, not realizing that I'm honestly probably missing out on a lot. So my 21st birthday comes around and I like force myself to get out of that relationship. I was like, all right, been in this one for too long, experienced this, experienced that, and I just dipped one day. You know, granted, in that relationship, like I said, he was like a really good friend. But I almost felt like there were other things that I just couldn't mentally handle, like, you know, him having a child, and like I couldn't wrap it around my mind that like you have a child with somebody and like you're not talking to this person. I don't know. In my mind, it was just crazy. But long story short, I ended up just ghosting the whole situation, and eventually wound up in a different relationship. Now, this relationship was different, okay? And it was a situation where I was super, like, for one, nervous to tell my family because I don't know, like I just couldn't do it. And I'll have to get into the details about that like later, but it just was different, okay? And that's when like my mom pulled me to the side and was like, look, you're my child. I know you literally don't care about anything. Like, you're just a free spirit, you know what I'm saying? That I love about you, but at the end of the day, like, this has to stop because boom. So it may not seem like I was listening, but I realized I was listening, but because I wasn't taking the proper action to like correct myself or at least like pay attention to being too freaking free in this world, I wind up in relationships that led me to building a nigga, like being too available for people, you know what I'm saying? Getting my shit done, but also losing myself at the same time. So, you know, that little relationship was like, you know, whatever. It, you know, took its course. I got comfortable. Then when I got uncomfortable, I dipped. And then I met, I can't even say his name, but then I met this dude. I met him at the studio. I went to the studio one day and he was like, you're beautiful. And I was like, thanks. He was like, you wanna go get pizza? I'm like, nigga, I love food. Yes, let's go. But literally in the car, you know, on the way there, mind you, friendly conversation, keeping it cool. I literally was asked, like, what do you want? You know what I'm saying? Again, now I'm only, what, 21? Yeah, I'm like 21 at this, I'm 21, about to be 22. Literally asked me what did I want, and I told him just a friend. I said, I genuinely just want a friend. I cannot commit to anybody. I am too young to be trying to commit to anyone. I just want a friend, someone that I can talk to about anything, someone I can have fun with, like we go do stuff. Like, I'm an outdoorsy person, and that's another thing that is kind of like cramping because I don't like people who like to sit around. I don't. I really enjoy being outside. I really enjoy being one with the world, like nature. Like, to be with me, you have to understand, like, I like to be out. I do not like to feel cluttered or sheltered. And I'm sure a lot of that stems from the fact that I didn't get to do things that my friends got to do. I wasn't just getting to go to like parties or sleepovers and things like that. So any chance as an adult, of course, that I have to get out, I'm out. But this relationship was definitely toxic. For one, he grew up with his grandmother. Nothing wrong with that. But that just tells me, of course, his mother and father were not present. I met his mom, and that environment was just very like, she had a boyfriend, of course, that was like, you know, didn't get along with him as her son. They lived in, you know, not a rough neighborhood, but like a neighborhood that was just like, my nigga, it's 2 rooms and it's like 3, 4 kids in here, and like the parents like, come on now, you know what I'm saying? So he already had the urge to like get out, be on his own. And at the time I didn't realize that he was actually living at the studio. I didn't know. So we go get pizza that night and come back. We bring everybody pizza, whatever, we chilling. He's like, I don't want you to go home. I'm like, what the fuck? So we sat outside and we talked. And we talked all night long, like all night, about like everything. And it turned into one of those things where I was like, damn, how rare is it that you like really get to spill out how you're feeling to somebody and they are listening. Not once did he cut me off, not once was it, you know, any rebuttal, but just an open ear. So from that point on, we pretty much spent like every day together. But then I realized like this nigga was crazy. He had a anger issue. He was a Leo, by the way. That's another thing I'm gonna say. There's several Leos in this story. For his boyfriend ever, he was a Capricorn. So like what, transition from a Capricorn to a Leo? That's ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, this one, he was a Leo and very angry, very like demanding, never treated me terrible though, just more so like narcissistic. And this was narcissist before I knew what that was. Like all of the traits of a narcissist he carried. And it was like, I don't want you to go home, like don't leave me, you know what I'm saying, like, you know what I'm saying, let's go walk, let's like, now planting the seeds for things that I like to do. And I'm not gonna lie, like I enjoyed the time of being able to say, okay, like cool, let's like, that's chill for me, that's what I love to do. I love air, a car ride, you know what I'm saying. Time went on. This nigga, I'm getting to the good point so I can get this shit off my chest. So time goes on. We both do music, you know what I'm saying? We're in the studio day in, day out, whatever. And at this point, I'm like, nigga, I'm really getting gritty. Like, I'm really getting on my grind as far as like this music, this is cool, you know what I'm saying? Talking to someone who is in the same like ideal field as you. And one day there's a chick in the studio and I'm in the back of the studio. She's in the front of the studio with her friend who is recording, her friend who is a good friend of mine now. And I hadn't seen the chick yet, but I'm in the back and he's going back and forth. I'm like, what the fuck is this nigga doing? I'm like, okay, like nothing's up there for you to just keep going back and forth. Like before you knew who was in there, we were literally back here like making music, vibing, doing our regular shit, like woman intuition. I'm like, yeah, what's that? So I walk out, right? The whole time he's trying not to have me go up there. I walk out, I go up there. The chick is like talking to him, whatever. And some way, somehow, it ended up being a thing, you know what I'm saying? Where I'm like, you know, this bitch, like, what's up? You know what I'm saying? You playing on my time. She writes me on Facebook and she's like, yeah, he told me this and that. You're just a girl that he met in the studio. You guys are just working on music. Mind you, I have been talking to him for what was now maybe like 8-9 months. So I'm like, oh yeah, I am just the girl in the studio, you know what I'm saying, whatever. But I really broke it down to Shorty, like, look, no, that's not what it is. He told me this, that, and the third about her, whatever. So and it ended up being this thing where, you know, that nigga lied to me. And before that, things were good. But I realized, like, he was playing. And we had conversations over and over again to the point where it's like, nigga, we're still young and naive. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's like, I don't want to be with her. I want to be with you, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like really going through the motion of like, okay, well, you better choose. And at the time that I'm telling him this, I'm really not giving a damn damn. It was just like a control thing. Like, I just really want to know who this nigga is going to choose. And he wound up being like, telling her like, no, like, you remind me of my mom, like all kinds of crazy stuff. She reminded him like of his mom in that aspect, whatever. He wanted to be with me and all this other stuff. So whatever, he thought we surpassed it. And crazy enough, I played the role as if I was over it instead of speaking up, because I really wasn't. At that point in time, like from that moment on, I just never trusted him again. But still, someone enjoyed his company, which was terrible. And again, I'm still young. I'm like, you know what, like, this isn't my husband. It's like, we don't have anything going on. That relationship ended on a terrible note. That relationship ended on a terrible note to the point where, like, it was a lot of, like, screaming at each other, lots of crying, and I became a true rebel. You feel me? I became so careless to the point where I was like, I will never let a nigga play on me again. Whoa. Me? Cut it. So, yeah, so it ended up being that. Now what I would say is, like, reason why I'm bringing this up is not to reminisce about my relationships and be like, oh, because I know what you're thinking, like, girl, you're reminiscing. No. The whole point is I had to go back to see where it started from. I had to say, you know what? This type of shit is happening in my life because I never paid attention to this. My father is the reason that I've had a hard time connecting with the Raymond, period. Granted, being young, you're not really dealing with like men who have been through things, but it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Not to mention, I'm dealing with a bunch of niggas who don't have father figures either. You know what I'm saying? So I say this to say, we're all pretty much fucked up. Like, if you think about it, you really have to want stability. You really have to want change. You really have to want love. You really have to want to be available for someone other than yourself. Otherwise, the cycle is always going to happen. I once heard something. Did I hear it or did I read it? I believe I was told by somebody, women are always going to go through their cycle until the man chooses to have them not go through that cycle anymore. So, girl, you're going to be in love. You're going to fall for these dudes, whatever. But if he never asks you to marry him and commit to you, you're going to be on to the next one until someone decides to say, okay, I want to commit. And unfortunately, it does suck because the men ultimately make the choice as to whether or not something is going to happen. And but what women don't understand is that you have complete power over that. So it's kind of like a mind game. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, okay, any bitch can cook, clean, you know what I'm saying, fold some clothes, give you good conversation, good whatever else, you know what I'm saying? But what else comes with this? Same. From my understanding, all men come with things men come with. So it's like, do you want a nigga to pay your bills? Do you want a nigga to, you know, like, what do you want him to do? Me personally, I just didn't understand why my mom was so stern. My mom was so stern because she's like, I got 3 kids with this dude, and somebody has to make a decision. Had they both been careless, who knows how we would have turned out? You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy. I ended up having a like huge fallout with my father. And when I think about it, I'm like, his dad didn't do for him, but I'm sure wanted to. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure his dad wanted to do certain things, but knowing my dad, I feel like my dad didn't allow him to. Period. My little brother definitely treated differently. You know what I'm saying? Like, definitely treated differently. My dad took more time with my brother, spent more time with my brother. And as I got older, our relationship faded because he felt that my attitude was just like my mom and that I was choosing a side. So growing up knowing that and being told to figure everything out, imagine going to your parent and being like, Dad, I really, really need you for this. He's capable of doing so, but instead he says, laughs at you and tells you, you'll figure it out, or figure it out. You need to figure it out. Like, what, bro? So this whole time, I'm trying to figure things out. I'm running into these fucking obstacles that I could have avoided a long time ago had I known or been raised differently. Had I had a present father. Crazy. So I am the stern woman that I am today because of my mom. I tend to, you know what I'm saying, I realize that if I don't do it, it's not gonna get done. Even though I procrastinate in that way where I'm like, okay, you know, I'll do it when I do it, it's not gonna get done unless I do it. So it's just crazy. It's really, really crazy. And I'm like, I'm going through these motions of like getting myself out of a funk, trying not to dwell in the past, trying not to think about people who have hurt me. You're in this world to be used, but at the end of the day, it's like, fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm really like, okay. You know what I'm saying? I ended up with someone that, and this is going on like a year ago now, but ended up in a relationship with someone that mesmerized me with the, hey, you're beautiful, you want to smoke, you want to chill, you want to kick it. And that situation transpired, like that situation went quick. Okay, when I tell you, honey, next thing I know, I was pregnant and some more, like going through the craziest time of my life. I'm like, okay, what is this? Granted, again, at this point, I'm like, this is a step in my life that I've ducked and dodged so many times. You know what I'm saying? Whether it was with the same person or whatever. But like, I purposely avoided this type of shit happening. So I'm not understanding how this happened. Like, of course you know how it happens, but like, why? You know what I'm saying? And I think in that situation, again, another Leo, you know what I'm saying? Like, very fiery energy, but had resentment towards his dad, and a mother who, to me, played more of the role of being a damn girlfriend than a mom. He was also not raised by his mother like that, from my understanding. From my understanding, again, his grandmothers raised him, and amazing women, you know what I mean? But it's just like, it's not the same when you don't feel like you're getting the love from the parents, you know what I'm saying? So because I was in the situation with him that I was in, I have more of an understanding to that. I was more sensitive to that. And down the line, you know, we're going through the motions of things like that. First time ever for both of us. And it just went downhill. It became one of those things where, like, I felt like he wasn't available anymore. Yeah, I felt like he just wasn't available anymore. And we were at a point now where we were yelling and screaming and crying, and then like, okay, I want to see you, and then it'd be awkward for a little bit, and then it's like, okay, now, you know, we love each other again, and then we don't. Like, just a lot. And truth be told, I feel like a lot of it had to do with the fact that his mom just got to a point where, you know, she wanted to control that situation, and she had her own perception of me. It was a thing where, I don't know, they thought I was too bougie. They were like, you know, like, this girl, like, what do you want? You know what I'm saying? You want your son to be in a situation where, yeah, he is on child support and he's dealing with a crazy ass chick. Like, my only thing was, first of all, I'm going through something where my emotions are at an all-time high. Like, why am I even going through the shit that I'm going through when really I'm preparing my life for a completely different motion? You know what I'm saying? So I genuinely think he would have done better had he not had certain things in his ear, because I genuinely think that he felt differently than what he was projecting to his mom, period. So unfortunately, that situation ended very tragic for me. And like, very, very tragic. Don't really want to talk about it, but I learned my lesson then. Who cries on camera? It just sucks because I really think it's ugly to cry on camera, but I didn't expect to cry for one, because it's but Yeah, I went through a really, really difficult time, and his family basically was like, you know, like, we don't care. He stopped answering the phone on the most important day that he could have answered the phone. And that's when I realized, like, that's when I realized, like, okay, yeah, you have to really, like, pay attention to yourself. You really have to, you know what I'm saying, focus on yourself and wake up from, like, just dealing with people that are not together themselves. And I'm not expecting anybody to be, like, fully together, you know what I'm saying, but it just really sucked because I personally know that he felt a completely different way than what he was telling them. And that was making me feel like, why aren't you telling the truth? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you lying? Why are you afraid to tell your mom that you feel this way? It was just weird. So, with that being said, went through that situation, and that relationship just ended. Like, there was no, you know, prior to the day that we stopped talking, we had, you know, a really long text message conversation, and it got to the point where it was just like, we can't have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, we really just can't coexist right now. And I'm just now getting to a point where, like, I don't feel as bad. You know what I'm saying? Because I genuinely know that I was doing what I needed to do. Like, you can only be so vulnerable at, you know, a certain point. So, yeah, I just, like, that situation was definitely probably the most tragic turning point. Of course, you know, I felt like before I probably had my heart broke and whatever, but I think this situation I genuinely did, and it was more so because I was expecting to open up a chapter with somebody, and it completely did not happen. It completely made a turn for the worst, like a fucking scary movie. And so, yeah, you know, now I am in a place where I think I'm just numb of a lot of things. Like, I know, of course, what I want to do. Like, my career is going to be there because I'm going to make sure it is. But, like, right now I'm in a place where, like, I want to be so damn selfish. I want to be, you know, available to someone who deserves my availability. But one thing I cannot do is, like, coach people in the process. You know what I'm saying? Like, I keep finding myself going through these patterns, and it's just not, it's not healthy. You know what I'm saying? It's not a healthy way to live. I literally, within the last year, every day thought about, like, why? You know what I'm saying? Like, first of all, why me? You know what I'm saying? And then second of all, like, why people just can't be open and honest about their feelings. You know what I'm saying? Whole time in that situation, I'm feeling like, you know, he's just here because now he feels like he has to be. And that is, like, not a good feeling. You know what I'm saying? If I don't feel like you want to be here because you really want to be here and you feel forced, like, leave. So yeah, that was that. You know, that's just been my history of fucked up situations that has now put me in the position that I'm in right now. Right now, I am dealing with someone who is not upfront about how they completely feel. And I'm searching for it in a way where it's like, I guess I want to hear specific words, and I'm not. And it's like, our relationship is without a doubt there. But something is missing. And I just don't want to be going down the road that I've gone down before. Like, I just don't want to be like, oh yeah, like, well, we're already here, so just deal with it. Like, no. That's just not gonna happen. I don't know. I can't believe, for one, I cried on here. I'm like, do I edit that out? Do I edit that out? Do I keep that in there? But it's real, you guys. Like, I know some people get on here and they literally, you know, plan the content as to how, like, it doesn't work that way for everybody. I am so in tune with myself at this moment where, like, I honestly don't have any control over my emotions, so it makes it a little harder. But at the same time, like, I hate to see people cry on camera. Like, when I see people cry on movies, I cry. You know what I'm saying? But it is real. And I feel like because I've never really, like, spoken about it, or I haven't spoken about it in, like, a long time, to hear myself say certain things back, it's just kind of, like, frustrating. But I know that I'm not battling any demons, you know what I'm saying, other than my childhood, really. I kind of like, I kind of held resentment towards my dad, which is why I think our relationship pretty much just became what it was, because it was like, you're not available. And my love language apparently is time. I like to know that people are making time and putting in some type of effort. So when they don't, it like pushes me away, and now I'm like, okay, well, fuck it. Like, instead of me just saying like, okay, I'm gonna just tell you why I'm leaving, I just dip. I don't know. It's just fucked me up, but I just had to get that off my chest. I don't know. I know it's like a bunch of rambling. I've kind of gone down my storyline a little bit, but we're making changes. And you all are apparently now first in line to see those changes. Like, I am, for one, getting my health together. I honestly feel like crap right now. I look like crap right now, but it's just like, it is what it is. I just want to be happy, of course, and I want to be able to say, like, you know, I tried my best in certain situations, and I've overextended myself for people that just aren't capable of doing that, and that's fine. You know what I'm saying? I just want people to be honest with themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, what I will say is, if you love somebody, don't be afraid to love that person. You know what I'm saying? If you genuinely feel like, you know what, I really do care for this person, I have love, whether you in love, whether you have love, whether you just love. Like, why is that so hard? people have a hard time keeping it a buck with people. And not everybody is capable of doing this. Not everybody is capable of saying, you know what, I'm gonna take the time to sit myself down and really talk about my damn issues. You know what I'm saying? Really confront myself with my issues. My issue is I have not held myself accountable for a lot of things. But it's because I didn't speak up when I should have, period. When I was feeling certain things, especially being younger, I should have spoken. But you don't know that, you know what I mean? Which is the whole point of you being a kid versus an adult. You know, you don't really know what you can and cannot say as a child or whatever, but yeah. I think I'm gonna call it a night, y'all. This vlog did not turn out the way that I was hoping for. I was hoping to really like have better energy and be in the office and things like that and like take you guys around, but I just don't feel good enough for it. I know I always pretty much like hold a smile on my face, but internally I do not feel up to it. I'm, you know, and I think it's important to like get your sleep, soak in the tub, like self-care. We hear it everywhere, and yet nobody is really doing what they need to do to make sure that they're good. So, you know, I'm on it. I have to be. But I don't know, guys. I guess I'm gonna end it here. I hate crying, bro. I literally hate crying. It's so fucking ugly, but yeah. I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm not even gonna hold you. I hope that you all enjoyed this, or whatever. I hope that this, I guess, opens a door for you to kind of check yourself, check on yourself, and really think about where certain things stem from, especially if you just find that like you're going through a pattern of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, sit yourself down, write it down, whatever you need to do, but it actually feels good to, you know, and I'm like, this is just, you know, a base conversation as to just kind of like throwing everything out there. I don't know if I'm gonna be really doing like story times to be specific and things like that, but I just know that I needed to get it off my chest and really put my foot forward and figuring out why the fuck I'm going through the shit that I'm going through. Like, I don't understand it, but I think I have an idea now. So I'm gonna get with you guys in my next video. If you are new to this channel, sorry you stumbled in on this type of video, but I appreciate you for sticking it through. Make sure that you guys hit that like button, share this video if you feel you want to share it, but really click that subscribe button so that way you can become a part of the Cartel crew. Yeah, we're out, y'all. Bye.